My name is Rana Haddad. I'm an instructional designer in the IT academic services here at AUB. I have a background in fine arts and multimedia and a postgrad in interactive multimedia. I've been with AUB since 2008. This is Rami Farran. He's the director of the IT academic services at AUB and also the director of the development team in the Office of Information Technology. He has a background in software architecture and has been working on agile models and processes since 2007. That's almost 10 years. I didn't know you were that old, Rami. And he's also my boss. So. Okay, so we're going to talk to you about a few things. First of all, the main thing obviously is Agile E-learning, but many of you might be wondering, what does that mean? What is Agile E-learning? You know, tell us a little bit more about it. So we're going to focus mainly on, first of all, defining our context. So what do we mean by e-learning? What is e-learning for AUB? What are our current processes? What are our problems with our current processes? And Rami will talk to you a little bit about why agility is much needed in e-learning, and then we'll show you how we've changed one of our main models or one of our main processes into an agile one and how we plan on implementing it. Hopefully this will give you some inspiration in case you're looking to do this in your own companies as well. So first of all, obviously this is not going to work when we need it to.
Okay, check that did work.
Okay, Rami, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, e-learning. Does everyone know what e-learning is? Now, yeah, I've spoiled this.
With animation?
It's a pedagogical, and we'll talk about pedagogical in a little bit, use of information technology. So basically using technology in education to enhance teaching and learning, and this is very important because it's not just used for no reason. It has to have a purpose of why it's being used in education, and it can take place anywhere, on campus or off campus, online, etc. Pedagogy. It's very important to use this term in the definition of e-learning because pedagogy is the study and practice of how best to teach. So it has to have a purpose and it has to be pedagogically sound in the context of the courses and the students and the person designing these e-learning material. It's also very important to define instructional design. We'll be referring to this term quite a bit during the presentation because they're referred to as instructional design processes. And instructional design is analyzing learning needs in any context. In our case, we obviously analyze the learning of our students, but we also analyze the learning of our staff, and we develop instruction to meet those learning needs, either to develop them into more technologically enhanced skills or to design instruction that is needed for them to learn something that we want them to learn. Now, it's also important to identify the role of an instructional designer, or what does an instructional designer do, because as you all know, an agile process is made successful by the key players in any process that you put in place. So understanding the characteristics of these key players, what it is that they bring to the table, how it is that we can utilize these skills is also very important. So this has been designed by an instructional designer, so it's a little bit biased. We tend to think that we're superheroes. But we do, on one level or another, do quite a bit of everything that's written on this slide. And we'll go through them, this guy is, we'll go through them quite quickly. I'm not going to focus a lot on this, but mainly from the name, we're designers. We design instruction, we design courses, we design learning modules. We communicate quite a bit with our SMEs or with our subject matter experts who are in our context the faculty members, so the professors of the university. We have to think outside the box. We have to come up with innovative activities. We have to come up with engaging ways of presenting content. We build a very close relationship with the faculty members that we work with. And obviously we have to analyze data. We have to constantly be making sure that what we are designing is yielding the results that we set forth to start with. And we analyze the needs, obviously, of the university to see what we need to build instruction on. We build, as I just said. We explore because we need to constantly know what other higher education institutions are doing. Are we up to speed with all the technologies that are out there, the methodologies? And we're superheroes. So. Now, e-learning is huge. It can happen in any context. What is e-learning here at AUB? What does AUB have in terms of e-learning? So we were able to group them into 4 main categories. The first is course design. We obviously help our faculty members in all 7 of our faculties design their courses, whether they are web-enhanced courses, which means they are traditional courses taught in the classroom with an online component using our learning management system, which is Moodle in our case. We also design blended courses. We currently have 92 blended course sections across campus. And blended courses are courses that are taught both online and face-to-face with a reduction of the face-to-face time. And online courses, as you know, in the ministry, we cannot have online degrees, but we do offer online courses if, for instance, the instructor is on sabbatical or is away. He can design his course to be offered online. And we also have new online programs. If you've heard of the Pro Green Diploma that started a year and a half ago, this is a diploma that's completely online in collaboration with LAU and AUC. It's a diploma. It's not a degree.
The web enhanced would be, what's the difference between the web enhanced and the blended? It would be that it is just...
Blended is just... Yes, in the blended, the difference between web enhanced and blended is that in blended courses, there's a reduction of the face-to-face time. So you no longer teach, let's say, MWF. You may teach MW, and then you drop the Friday to accommodate for the online work that happens. Whereas with web enhanced, you don't do that. With web enhanced, you keep your same face-to-face time. You just add a technology component where students can submit their assignments online, could possibly engage in a few forum activities. They get the grades, the quizzes are online, so you just add a bit of technology to the course.
No course online?
No.
Not yet.
There's no time allocated for the online environment in web enhanced. Faculty and staff development. So in order for us to successfully deliver these courses that we design, we need to ensure that our faculty are well equipped with what they need in order to deliver these courses. So we also have huge programs where we work with our faculty on designing their courses and on teaching them how to deliver them. And we also offer our departments across AUB a service where we can create self-run training modules for them. For instance, if we look at HR has specific training that they offer to the AUB community. They no longer want to do it in this format that we're doing right now. They want to do them self-run, so more faculty can take them at their own time and their own pace. So we work on those as well. Reusable learning objects, those come up, the need for those come up because we are moving more courses in a blended format, more courses to web enhanced, so there is a need for creating online content now. So also our department works with faculty members on creating any sort of animation, simulation, any type of interactive lecture that they may need, so we work with them on that as well. And the online programs, which I told you, one example of is the Pro Green Diploma, and now our CEC courses, our continuing education courses, are also moving online, so we'll tell you a little bit more about that in a bit. We chose to shine light on 3 of our main processes, but we're only going to focus on one of them in this talk, just for the lack of time and because it's the one that we chose to move into an agile model the first, because it's our most popular one. But to start with, we have a process for our faculty and staff development. I'm not going to go through the details of this. I think it'll be online, so you can check it out on your own. Just in terms of approval process, who applies, how do we launch it, how do they enroll, do they enroll in a self-run training or in a face-to-face training, depending on their preference, and how it moves on from there. If you notice, it's quite linear. We also have a process for creating learning objects. Now this one is a little bit more complex because it involves storyboarding of the object that we're creating. It involves working with a media specialist, which we don't always necessarily have on hand. So it's a little bit more complicated. And then we have our course design process. Our course design process starts from a consultation between the instructional designer and the faculty member. We discuss to assess what is the need, what does the faculty member need to do, and then they sort of go into two main paths. They either are not ready for the blended design approach to teach a blended course, or they don't want to, so they go up to the top part where they just work with us on a one-on-one basis to enhance their course with the use of ICT. Or if they do want to teach in a blended format and their skills permit, they go into this path and they enroll in the blended training, which is a prerequisite to teaching a blended course at AUB. It's a 5-week training. I'm not going to go into the details of this. And then this is what we're going to focus on in this presentation. How we change this process, which you see flows extremely in a waterfall type of way. Every step is very much dependent on the other one. We've had issues with this since 2009, and we're finally now moving to hopefully to a more agile process that we'll talk about again in a little bit. And I think I'm going to pass that on to Rami. Rami is going to talk to you a little bit more about the need for agility and e-learning.
Okay, thank you. So basically, as you can see, this is the model that's the traditional model for course design. It's called ADDI. What does it stand for? Of course. So, and as you can see, it really looks very rigid. It starts with an analysis phase. It can take up to a month. Analysis where we analyze the course, we know exactly what's going on, and we start, designing. And once the design is done, we pass it to the developers to develop the content. And after that, it goes to the implementation of the actual course. And if something needs to change, it goes back to the instructional designers to repeat all the process all over again. As you can see, it's extremely rigid, and some courses take up to 4 months to design. Now, agility came into the world, and we need, to adapt that. Agility, basically, it created 2 boot camps, or 2 camps. The first one are the people who are, people like us, who are advocates for agility, and there are those who oppose it. People who oppose it, they say that there's nothing new under the sun. It doesn't bring any more value to what I'm doing. What's in it for me? What's new in that? While, in fact, it does actually provide very high quality output. Now, the thing is, agility, something like that needs kind of a person to manage the show, right? A project manager. And the traditional project management in the agile world is diluting, right? The Scrum, for example, we all know Scrum. Scrum, there is no role as project manager. The PM role is not there. So basically, project managers will definitely not as easily understand the agile concept. However, you can easily argue that you can easily say that there's no Easter Bunny and there's no Santa. And I can always argue that there's nothing called agile project manager. You cannot have one person managing the show. The thing is, the show has to be managed by each and everyone on the team. Each one has to buy into what they are doing, change of the culture, and they all go ahead and deliver whatever they're delivering. In our case, the course design. So we're saying that agile project manager doesn't exist. Please, if there's a few project managers here, don't send me hate emails explaining that, no, there has to be accountability, et cetera, et cetera. We know that. But in the agile world, everyone has to have part in that. So we always wish that it's as easy as following the project plan. Basically, almost in every presentation, I have some food included in the presentation. Since some of you watched other presentations that I've done, and there's always pictures for food. So let's say having a food recipe. I think it's obvious that I like to eat. And people who like to eat like to cook as well. So I like also to cook. And there's nothing more simple than downloading the recipe online and following the recipe. And each and every time, almost each and every time, you get the same result. And you get the same result if Rana, for example, did the same thing. I cannot say the same thing about my wife, But I mean, for the majority of people, if you follow the steps of a recipe, basically you reach the same result, right? So in our case, you just cook the meat, cook the pasta, preheat the oven, assemble the ingredients, and bake, and voila, you have your lasagna. The thing is, this almost never happen in the IT world, in the software world, in the instructional design world, and the e-learning world. In the real world, it doesn't happen because it boils down to managing variances. There are always changes. The world is always changing. In our case, the e-learning, the high quality of the learning content is a must, and we'll talk about this in a minute. And there is a huge increasing demand on e-learning itself. We'll see how. So basically, in the old world, people who are familiar with projects are familiar with this triangle, the iron triangle of project managers, where you always argue that there is a scope, cost, time, and quality, and you have to pick two if there's you have to pick three in this case because we have quality added. And so usually it used to be cost, scope, and time, and pick two, and then they added the quality because as we go, we find out that the quality is extremely important. So we added the quality, but now in order to have high quality, you have to pick three. And the thing is, the scope is always fixed, right? You cannot compromise on scope. And the variable are these here. And usually when you're delivering something, you cannot compromise on time, otherwise the project will take a lifetime. And you cannot compromise on cost because the client don't want to pay more than what he or she is paying. So basically the compromise usually happens here. We always have seen projects which are really compromising quality. So the same output comes, but with a very low quality. You will never want to compromise on quality. That's where agility came in to actually flip the triangle, where these are the fixed constraints up, and the variable becomes the scope. So instead of saying that, okay, so I have this budget and I have this scope, give me your timeline and stick to your timeline within this cost and high quality. Now I have everything and I need something by 2 weeks. What can you give me by 2 weeks? So that's how you shift the mentality from actually managing the time, etc., to managing the scope with always keeping a high quality. Now, since we are talking about quality, the quality is the main driver, and in my personal opinion, the quality is the main thing that drove people to move into an agile world. Now that we're talking about quality, let's define quality. What's a quality burger? You can really tell that I love food, huh?
منك مغدى رامي.
I didn't. So what's a quality burger?
Quality meat.
Good taste, good ingredients. Okay. Good ingredients. Most people say good ingredients.
You don't get sick after eating.
Exactly. Now, if I asked this question 10 years back, or let's say 15 years back, no one would have cared for the ingredients and getting sick after it, and et cetera, et cetera. Probably they would say that, okay, I need a half pound of meat, and I'll call it a good burger. So basically, the idea that I'm trying to deliver is that quality is very highly proportional and aligned with the user expectations. So what you expect is the quality something. So a quality burger is what you expect. So for me, when I was a kid, a quality burger is something that contains a lot of ketchup, a lot of mayonnaise, etc. Today, no, it's cereal bread with healthy ingredients. So it all boils down to the user expectations. And e-learning is no exception for that. In the old days, you used to get away, for example, with a software that doesn't work on mobiles, or that's not fast enough, or that's not responsive enough. And the old days also, you can get away with having a presentation with some animations and call that e-learning, right? Today you cannot. That's why we're using Prezi and not PowerPoint. So Dilbert always have a joke to say about any topic in the world. Just Google something and you'll find a Dilbert joke on that. Okay, so it's all about the quality. the quality, the agility is not native to the world of IT software or the work you do on computers. It's everywhere, and that's a topic that I was discussing with Karim before the session, that you need agility literally in everything. Almost in your life you need agility. Toyota, for example, in the old days they used to do looms, kind of textile. They used to produce textiles, and Toyota is all about quality. They didn't want to compromise on anything that has to do with quality. So what they did, and this was the revolution, that was in the old days. The revolution was that they have this machine where whenever it detects that it's defective, it has defective textile, it stops. It stops production. So the advantage here is, one, they guaranteed quality, and two, instead of having a person on each machine, these are huge machines, you can have one person managing the whole room with tens of machines. So both they guaranteed quality and they reduced the human power, and that's what they call Kaizen. That's a Japanese word. So now we learned Italian and Japanese. And then when they moved to the car industry, the concept of quality stayed there, and they have something called Jiduka, which is basically the production line of a Toyota car. And the thing about this is, when producing a car, someone, for example, is responsible for putting the door on the car and to make sure that the door, fits there. So this person, let's say, have a minute, which is a production line. He starts here, the line is moving, and he's fixing the door until the door is done. At a certain point, when this person discovers that the door is defective, he directly calls the supervisor. So you have one supervisor for like 10 people. He calls the supervisor comes and tries to fix it before reaching a certain red line. If it doesn't, the supervisor pulls what they call andon cord. And this stops the production of the whole line, the whole thing, because they create a panic when something goes wrong. And the thing is, every minute for stopping this will cost them like $250 or even more, and they have like 3,000 stops every day. But they guarantee. حدا عنده تويوتا؟ شي مرة فاتت على الجراج؟ Amazing. Okay. Lexus, so yeah, it's by Toyota. So yeah, the demand for high quality is a must, and that makes the change needed in the e-learning world. And same thing, because the demand is getting very, very, very high, and the capacity is limited. So we need to change something to go to be able to supply the demand. Let's see some statistics, and again, because we don't want to use PowerPoint, so we used a different tool to show the statistics. So, when we were asked how essential would e-learning be in higher education industry, like 75% of the people say, yeah, it's extremely essential. The top 5 e-learning growth rates by country. Who can guess which are these countries? These are placed in the correct. China, صح. India, صح. Malaysia. لا بعد ما وصلنا USA صارت. These are Poland and Romania. Anyway, so bravo. But this will not guarantee you a gift yet. So you have India, which is 55% growth, and then you have China, which is 52%. Malaysia, it's 41%. And then you have Romania and Poland. So the e-learning is really growing. When you have a growth of 50%, it really requires a change to be able to supply all this demand. Companies which are using learning management systems these are the companies, the corporates, not the universities. There are 74% corporates using the virtual classrooms. And the growth is growing from, this was in year, I think, 2015, 107 billion to, it's kind of an expected constant growth of 13% every year. Okay. So back to our ADDIE model, what we need to change here is to try to, formulate this model into a more agile model. And basically, or luckily, there's another model. It's called SAM model. SAM stands for Successive Approximation Model. And this kind of, reformulates what we see here into a different model while making sure that the quality is still guaranteed. Where we start with a very fast kickoff phase, the analysis phase, the background, just, getting to know the meeting, getting to know the high-level objectives, and then we start the iterations, like every agile process. We have the design phase. It becomes iterative, where we design, only chunks, and the SMEs are included here, and we directly pass the chunks to the developers to develop the content while we're designing other content, et cetera, et cetera. And this is where you can get directly into a kind of a prototype or design proof very fast, alpha, beta, and then you start getting the gold.
Could you just explain what would be the difference between this approach and the other in terms of one board, for example?
Rana will be actually talking about this, she'll answer. This is a very good question, by the way. When you're presenting, when someone asks something and you are going to talk about it, this is a very good question. If it's in the very next slide, that's an excellent question. If it's in the next slide. Okay. So basically, in most schools or universities, you have very high expectations from students. However, no one talks about the student expectations or the learner's expectations. What are these people expecting from us as people who are transmitting the knowledge to remain engaged in their e-learning or in their learning? So basically, there are 10 expectations for that. Relationships. Am I just another face in the classroom, or do my teacher know about me and know about my interests and about my talents? Relevance. Is it just a series of hoops and quizzes and jumps? Or is it relevant to my interests? And do I know that my learning will contribute actually to my community? Time. Am I expected to learn at a constant pace that is decided by the instructor? Or can I learn on my own pace? Timing. Do all students have to learn things in exactly the same way? Or can I learn things in the order that actually fits my learning interests? Play. Is there always pressure to perform? Or do I have the opportunities to explore and make mistakes and learn from my mistakes without really being framed as a failure? Practice. Do we learn and then immediately move to the next skill? Or can we engage in really deep, sustained practice on these skills that we need to? Choice. Am I just following the same path as each and every student? Or do I have the real choice about what, when, and how I will learn that matches my learning abilities? Authenticity. Is my work just a series of details? Or the work that I'm learning is regarded as significant outside my school by the community and by my mentors, by my teachers, by my parents, etc. Challenge. Is it just about completing assignments, or do I really feel appropriately challenged? Application. Is my learning all theoretical, or do I have the opportunity to apply what I'm learning in real-world settings? So basically, these are the 10 different expectations that that learners are expecting from everything that they learn. And these are imperative expectations that I think needs to be whenever there's a learning going on. Let's do a very quick exercise.
By the way, we're very short on time.
Okay, so we're short on time. We'll try to proceed as fast as we can. Okay, so we all know this, Mahek. This is the 250, the coin. Yeah. Okay. Everyone knows the 250. We almost use it on a daily or bi-daily or weekly basis, at least for the parking or for the coffee. So although we're all familiar with that, who can know which one of these is the correct 250 that we use? You can come closer. كلهم؟ لا, there are a lot of variances.
مثل بعض.
There's no two like each other. Like this one has The year and doesn't have the year. So, hala will know. So basically what I'm trying here to say is that when you're not engaged with what you have, you will not really gain the required knowledge. Let's move to the next slide. Okay, so engagement. ما حدا حابب يعرف شو ال 50 المضبوطة. Okay, so it's the first one. So you're still not engaged. It's the first one, yeah. The engagement needs like 4 C's: the collaboration, critical thinking, communication, and creativity. And I was thinking that this is really hardwired in our minds since our grandparents. They need collaboration to kill the animal, critical thinking to know how to distribute it, communication because they always used to sit, and creativity, they were very creative and left us a lot of good paintings. I'll skip this one and I'll pave the floor for Rana to continue the talk. At AUB, the students' expectations are really getting high. We have an extremely critical student body. And the online is moving very fast, that in 2 years the demand almost quadrupled or even more. Constant connectivity, which makes students expect even more engaging material, domino effect. Now the instructors also want to have their courses online, and we're not growing in resources. So we have this much of resources, this much on demand, and we need to know what to do.
Okay, so bringing this all back to our process. So as I told you, I joined AUB in 2008. So starting 2009, we started doing this. I had no idea what instructional design was. I used to paint and draw and sculpt. But I quickly went into this cycle and I think also quickly realized how exhausting it was. And seriously, I am probably the furthest person from being agile, I think, ever. I'm a little bit controlling.
Control freak.
And a little bit of a perfectionist. And I think those are two qualities that maybe truly so or not, I don't know, don't make a very good agile designer.
I don't really agree with that, but I mean, having this kind of background and then the journey is hard, but once you are there, you have the advantage of being what you...
You just have to get there. But I'm getting there, and I think coming up with this new model sort of by myself, obviously talking to Rami and our other colleagues, I think has convinced me that obviously I need to go see a psychiatrist and change a little bit. But anyway, so if we dig a little bit deeper into our model, and I'm going to go into specifics because I know you're a little bit interested. So we consult, they take the training, and then they start working with their instructional designer on designing a course. A lot of work happens in the first step between the ID and the SME to figure out what it is that needs to be done. Then we move into something that we call a backward design table. This is a table that is built on the backward design principle that I think all of us live this way. We think of the end point and then we get there. So this table allows us to map the learning outcomes of the course. So what is it that we want our students to know by the end of the semester? What is it that I'm going to ask them to do to give me evidence that they have learned what I want them to learn? And what are the resources that I need to give them in order to do what I want them to do? So it's a 3-column table if you want. So we map up the learning outcomes and we start thinking about, and all this happens here. Mind you, we're still here. Month 2 and month 2.5, we're still here. We map out the learning outcomes, we map out the course by topics or by weeks, and then we move across the table to identify activities and assessments and resources and all this stuff. When we're done this stage here, which takes extremely long, we move into creating a basic course outline, which is basically something that displays our course in chronology. And this chronology is meant to show the student how they're going to progress in the course based on the design that we did here. Then we move over to designing the activities. We still don't have a course. We have a course on paper, but we don't have a course. Then we write the instructions of all of the activities of the course. Think a 15-week course probably has a minimum of 10 activities. We write those instructions of those activities again on paper. Then we rewrite the syllabus. So everything we've done here, we take the syllabus and we think, okay, we're using new tools, so we need to identify those. They need now technical support because we're using new activities, so we redesign the syllabus. Then we move on and we create the course on Moodle. This usually happens about 2 weeks before the semester starts. Who does this? The ID, all by him or herself.
Herself in this case.
So suddenly we're technologists and we need to get everything up on the LMS extremely fast because the course is about to start. And the SME doesn't interfere here. They're busy with other things. We get their course up on Moodle a lot of the time. Sometimes they do. So a lot of the time the course starts, they have no idea what's in their Moodle page. And then we move here, and because we're bound by quality at AUB, we have to check off this course as, yes, this meets our quality standards. We've filled out all the steps for it. And this happens maybe 3 days after the course starts. So this is a huge issue here, right? And then we deliver the blended course and hope for the best.
Okay.
Okay?
We still have 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So basically, we'll move to the game, and then we'll...
No, wait, no, give me a minute. It's important to get to the end point here.
Okay.
I'll skip through some things. Obviously, things needed to change. We needed more dedication from the SME. We needed a bigger team. The ID and the SME cannot obviously do everything. And we needed a faster design process. This is our new model. We have to show the new model. We cannot play the game.
Yeah. We spent a lot of effort doing that.
So this is the new team. Every course design now has 4 people working on it. The SME, who is now only in charge of building the backward design table in iterations. So we are building them now module by module. Every time a module is done, or a week, it's passed on to the ID for storyboarding. And then this storyboard is given to our Moodle team to build on Moodle. So the course is now being built module by module, not by the ID who's cursing while they're building the course on Moodle because it's not their job. And then we also added a new member who is the media specialist who's now in charge of building all the lectures, finding all the resources, the animations, and really making the course interactive and engaging for the students. Notice how iterative it has become. So we now just do framework. We do learning outcomes, topics, that's it. And then we focus one-on-one on the modules, and they get passed on to the proper team member until they do module design, and then we do a module check. So we no longer wait until the whole course is on Moodle to evaluate whether it's a good one or not. We are checking module by module, and then a short evaluation at the end that looks at the entire course. Okay, I'm not going to go into, obviously this means our documents have changed, our templates have changed. We really had to work on all of these details. Our quality went from being a 14-page rubric that we filled 2 or 3 days before. I'm lying, it happens after the delivery. And then the designer was evaluating their own design. So I was evaluating the course that I just put on Moodle, which really doesn't make any sense. So this is no longer the case. And we couldn't accommodate changes. If something went wrong in the rubric, that's it. You're delivering it wrong. There's no going back. So obviously all these have been met. We do more frequent checks. We changed the, easier to make design changes. And we're hoping that this is going to yield exemplary courses. We haven't tried this yet. But we are going to try it for the continuing education department. There are 54 courses that need to go online in 4 years. And there's only 2 of us. So this is why we're glad that now the team is bigger. We are worried that we are still going to get delays from the SME. They're gods here at the AUB. We can't tell them anything.
The professors, in this case.
We're worried that we're not getting as much of a holistic view of the course as we did before, but we're willing to take a chance on this. There's a new work dynamic between teams that we are worried about. I don't know how much the Moodle team is going to accept taking orders from us, but we'll see. It should be fun. And in the old way, we had such a close relationship with the SME. We saw them so much and we did so much for them that I don't know how this will be affected. And we still don't have a framework for reporting and, you know, all the documentation, so we have to see how that's going to go. But we're hoping course design will be cut in half, lectures are going to be more interactive, the design, of course, is going to be more standardized because now we're doing all of them in the same way, and higher quality in less time.
Okay. If we don't have 3G, we're done. We need to give away the gifts.
Okay, you need to keep it.
Yeah. So based on, yeah, it only takes 3
2
minutes.
seconds.
Please go to yeah.
Open Kahoot.it.
Just open Kahoot.it.
We need to sign in.
And
Maybe we'll do just 2 questions.
yeah.
They came for the gifts. They can't leave without the gifts.
Okay, so Kahoot will ask you for the pin. هلا رح يبين البن. Just please put the pin.
The 3 fastest people will get the... Classic. Okay. Did it open for everyone? Okay.
Please
Pin.
use this pin. Now the fastest people who answer the question will get the gifts. Okay?
We won't go through all the questions.
Okay, we have 3 people. 4, 5, 6. Yalla, I will start, okay?
Go.
Go. So the first question, what does SAM stand for? $20.
Da, 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 da. Khalas, 1 question. I know, it takes a lot of eye coordination. You don't get the answers on your phone, just the color. Okay.
Suhail the first, Speedo, and I think this is Raed.
Who's Suhail?
Suhail? Who's Speedo? We had 5 questions, but Pierre wouldn't let us to go through the 5 questions.
And who?
Yeah. And Raed.
Thank you,
Okay.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.